sport, of all the sports, that is most reliant on a system. Each and every team has their own organizational structure that is unique to their own personal philosophy. You build the right organization with the right structure in place, you can create continuity and thus long-lasting success. Some organizations don't give themselves the chance to develop continuity because they're constantly reshuffling their personnel. This is one area where the Atlanta Falcons have actually succeeded. Since 2015, the four most important personnel positions have remained exactly the same. Arthur Blank the owner, Thomas Dimitroff the GM, Matt Ryan the quarterback, and Dan Quinn the head coach. These four positions are the pillars in which organizations build their identity, scheme, and most importantly, their culture. After 2016, when the Falcons were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl, then promptly blew the lead, their culture took a devastating hit so massive, they've still never actually recovered. The results from that loss sear deep down into the soul of their franchise and have never been eradicated. Yes, continuity is important, but for the Falcons, something major needed to change, but it did not. In the 3 years following, the Falcons had a 500 record, but after last season's 1-7 start, which they did bounce back from, Dan Quinn needed to prove the past was in the past. Through the first 3 weeks of the 2020 season, the same issues have returned that never truly went away. The Falcons have started 0-3 and have become the only team ever to lose twice in one season when holding 15-point leads in the fourth quarter, except they've done so in back-to-back games. The issues that were planted in the 28-3 loss have taken root, and still to this day, they've failed to close out games, they've failed to adapt at halftime, they're not prepared, and their scheme is being exploited. An organization's culture is more important than their scheme, but if the culture isn't good, your scheme better be goddamn incredible, and the Falcons is not. Their schematic issues are most prevalent on the defensive side of the ball. They've allowed the most passing touchdowns, the second most yards, they've committed the second most penalties, and in the fourth quarter, they've allowed the most points in the league. The main problem with their scheme is its predictability. Any team can flick on the film and quickly identify the Falcons' alignments and tendencies and how to exploit them. It's either Dan Quinn's cover 3 or defensive coordinator Raheem Morris's Tampa 2. And paired with their average pass rush, the Seahawks, Cowboys, and Bears have picked them apart. Take this example from week 1. The Falcons especially favor cover 3 in the red area. And since Dan Quinn is still running the Seahawks scheme, Russell Wilson is already anticipating that exact coverage. Right off the bat, this pre-snap structure looks like cover 3. Russ sees the deep safety in the middle of the field with two corners outside, and with one of them aligned over the tight end Greg Olsen, this provides a coverage indicator signaling they're in zone. The Seahawks are running a mirror dragon concept designed to horizontally stretch the underneath defenders. Since Russ knows they're in cover 3, he'll key the curl flat defender to see if Olsen can win across his face and in front of the safety. The Falcons are in a 5-man front and are rushing all 5. So while it's still cover 3, it's a fire zone cover 3, which basically turns it to man. Russ knows to still key the curl flat defender, who takes the running back to the flat and leaves Olsen wide open. If you give the quarterback easy keys pre-snap, your coverage is gonna get ripped up. Since QBs already know what defense the Falcons are playing, they can be ultra aggressive throwing into tight windows. Russ eyes the middle of the field safety, then the moment he sees the curl flat break outside, he knows Olsen is wide open before Olsen knows Olsen is wide open. The Falcons went on to lose 38-25, a game where they were rightfully outmatched. But what followed the next 2 weeks was historically embarrassing. Against the Cowboys, they had leads of 29-10 at half and 39-24 with 5 minutes remaining in the fourth. But because they continuously played the same repetitive coverages, they lost 40-39. In the first 2 weeks of the season, they ran Tampa 2 zone the second most in the NFL. And some of the Cowboys' most crucial plays, especially in the second half, came against that coverage. Tampa 2 is a good mix-up if you can disguise it properly pre-snap. but to base out of it is antiquated. Conceptually, the coverage tries to solve a problem that regular cover 2 zone creates. There are major holes up the sidelines and through the middle of the field, so Tampa 2 drops the middle linebacker into that deep hole to discourage teams from dunking on them over the top. The problems it creates are twofold. Not many linebackers are fast enough to run the pole, so really Deion Jones is their only guy who can do it. And the moment the quarterback sees the linebacker flip his hips, he immediately knows it's Tampa 2, since that's really the only coverage that asks him to do that. If you can catch a defense in Tampa, there are a lot of ways to scheme it up. The Cowboys knew all week they were going to face it, so they game planned their version of a missile post to attack the deep middle hole. It's designed to look like a normal play action cross, which the Seahawks had burned the Falcons on multiple times, but instead of crossing the field, the Z is actually a decoy to suck up the mic in safety, opening the post downfield. The moment Dak turns around on play action, he sees the classic Tampa 2 structure, exactly what the Cowboys wanted. He eyes the Miami route to hold the defense and hits Amari Cooper deep down the field. A good team culture builds confidence. A good scheme builds confidence. But because of how the Falcons have operated the last several years, they haven't developed the confidence to consistently execute for a full 4 quarters. The past dwells in the back of their minds, and each first down the Cowboys picked up, more and more doubt slowly crept in. The Cowboys are actually running a called screen where the right side of the line basically lets the pass rush come free so they can slide out to block in the alley. But since Dak is already expecting them to play Tampa 2 and immediately sees the Mike linebacker sprinting backwards, he knows the underneath hole is wide open. Quarterbacks want to have their eyes in the right spot on every play. They want to identify the right defender to key to tell them who is in conflict and where the space is in coverage. It's a defense's job to fool the QB by giving him false keys and bad eyes. When you give him the same looks over and over, he knows exactly who to key and it's game over. The Cowboys use 2 coverage indicators to confirm what the defense is playing. With a cornerback outside on Zeke who stays outside on the tight end, the Cowboys know they're getting zone. Dak checks to a dagger levels concept to horizontally stretch the left side of the defense. Since the Mike linebacker usually is responsible for the number 3 receiver in zone, Darqueze Dennard will be stretched by the dig or the in, leaving an open space in the middle. When the Falcons drop into Tampa 2, the moment Dak sees Deion Jones flip his hips, he knows exactly what they're playing and where he's throwing. With Jones matching CeeDee Lamb vertical, look at the anticipation to hit Noah Brown in a super tight window. The only way Dak can make this throw is because he knows what coverage is coming. The levels part of the concept is supposed to hold Darqueze Dennard, and he actually does a pretty good job, but because of the space vacated by the Mike and Dak knowing the coverage, he can aggressively attack the defense. This play actually got called back because of a blindside block by Lamb, but the Cowboys still drove down the field, and then you know what happened. Before this game, 440 teams had scored 39 points without turning the ball over, and their record in those games was 440-0. Now it's 440-1. The scheme is unsound, the team is unprepared, and the culture has created an atmosphere where the Falcons do not believe in who they are, what they're doing, or what it takes to close out a game. They're good enough to build a lead, and in week 3, they were up 26-10 in the 4th quarter. But a team with shaky confidence struggles when things go off script. After Nick Foles replaced Mitch Trubisky in the second half, the Falcons slowly crumbled and were outscored 20-0 in the final quarter. They did do a better job of disguising their coverages pre-snap compared with the first 2 weeks, but the coverages themselves were not multiple enough to be effective. On a pivotal 4th and 6, the Bears scheme up a zone beater on each side of the field. If they get cover 3, Foles will throw the deep curl inside of the deep third defender. Or if they get Tampa 2, he'll throw the corner route attacking the deep hole. By releasing 3 checkdown receivers, this vertically stretches or high-lows each of the underneath defenders and doesn't allow them to sink into the deeper throwing windows. Both safeties are giving an ambiguous look pre-snap, but Foles uses a hard count to get them to jump into their too deep shell. Just like Dak, Foles knows to key Deion Jones, who immediately flips his hips at the snap. Jones runs vertical, both safeties widen to the sidelines, and Foles instantaneously knows exactly where to go. The flat route holds Darqueze Dennard, and Ted Ginn runs wide open towards the corner. This is a layup for BDN. He keys Jones, then double checks the safety is still in his deep half, looks back inside for a split second to keep him honest, then with anticipation throws a rocket to the corner. And keep in mind, this is the Bears' backup. Yes, Foles is a veteran quarterback, but he's fresh off the pine, and yet he still knew exactly what the Falcons were going to do. He racked up 154 yards and 3 touchdowns in the fourth, and as the seconds ticked by, you could feel every last player on the Falcons starting to panic. This is who they are. This culture was established way back in 2016. Something after that devastating loss had to change, but it never did. What makes this so debilitating is they are not a bad team. They've proven they can score points, while, at least in the first half, their defense can play well. They're not just getting blown out from the jump, they're building leads, sometimes big ones. But their adjustments and mentality have consistently failed them. There is a gigantic chasm of a difference between building a lead and knowing how to close one out. It's not the talent or the quality of the players, it's the Falcons' own system, scheme, and organization. The firing of Dan Quinn is inevitable, but he's not the only problem. The owner, GM, and quarterback are all major agents of culture as well. Arthur Blank, Thomas Dimitroff, and Matt Ryan are not bad at their jobs. I think they're all above average. But at the end of the day, culture trumps all, and their broken culture hasn't changed enough in the last 4 years to make any type of difference. Something needs to happen. The fans of Atlanta do not deserve this. Moves will be made, and the next head coach will have major work to do. Step 1, change the Falcons culture.